For all my fans out there.
I've lost words. you can do the intro. You do the intro.
Welcome everybody to After Swim, this week's episode. I'm Jay Prochelle.
I'm Andy Donaldson.
And we're keeping it light and entertaining for you. So, yeah, we've got a bit on today. Andy's out of words. I've got him speechless for once. Normally he can...
because of this. I don't know what this is, but it's throwing me off my tracks.
I'm getting back to my younger years when I used to go clubbing.
Down at the hippie club.
The Aberdeen, the post office, all those great places.
Anyway, this is After Swim, the show that is centered around the conversations typically had after a swim.
Yeah.
And, we've got a really exciting episode coming up for you today. Maybe run us through, what are we talking about?
Oh man, we've got a lot. There's a bit of there's a wrap up of some events that were on last weekend. We're touching base in New Zealand again. There's been an event over there and a series that we'll just touch on as well that I think is really interesting. There's been another swim around St Helena. Surprise, surprise. What else have we got? What have I missed? Anything?
Well, talking about swims, one of the things we're going to really focus in on today is what happens afterwards. And we're not talking about after the swim conversations, but...
not beers. Not
talking about beers either. We did a little bit of that at the weekend. But talking about post-swim recovery, what that looks like physically, mentally, emotionally, all these types of things so that you can recover as best as possible and get yourself back on the horse, get back in the water, get back towards moving on to goals. I suppose in the best way possible.
Well, and I was just going to, finish that off with a little bit of a phrase. I mean, life doesn't stop. Life doesn't stop, and neither should your movement, neither should your exercise and recovery. It's all kind of part of your training. So we'll delve into that a little bit. I think it'll be quite interesting.
Shall we delve in then?
Let's go.
Okay, let's delve in.
So what's been happening this week?
This week in the water. So this is a segment where we run through what's going on in the open water swimming community, and I suppose we should start with what happened in our own backyard, yeah.
So we had the Port to Pub on last weekend.
Bring this up on the screen.
A swim across to Rottnest Island. The difference with the Port to Pub is not only is there a direct swim across to the island, but there's also a 25 kilometre ultra marathon swim. And I was going to say yours truly, I didn't swim, but yours truly on this side, he actually swam the 25 kilometres.
I did swim the 25 kilometres. So
how did you feel afterwards?
So I'll get into that in a second, but as you can see, this is the Port to Pub Instagram page that we've brought up here. A lot of smiles and a lot of beautiful waters to be swimming in. An idea of that there, but
and a stark contrast to 4 weeks prior when we had the Rottnest swim, which was unfortunately cancelled due to bad weather. The Port to Pub was blessed with almost majestic conditions. It was.
Oh, I'm in this video here. Look at that.
Oh, there you go, look at that. So yeah, the conditions were almost perfect. So we had a great day out on the water and a lovely, enjoyable day. And the swimmers had maybe not the easiest of swims because there were other challenges, but certainly great conditions for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just bring this up here. So this was me and my team out there on the water. That's my kayaker Ennis. Busy time with the 25k. You do the 5 kilometre loop and then start swimming across the Rottnest. But it was an awesome day out there on the water. I had a bit of a tough time in my 25k, just not feeling my best when I got out there, but was able to really knuckle down, stick at it and get it done, which I was really pleased with.
And I think one of the cool things, and hopefully it's on their Instagram page, was the last swimmer that came through. So one of the really great things about Port to Pub is it finishes at the pub, literally. You get out the water, hit the sand, and there's the pub. So everybody who's done the event is kind of sitting there waiting. And one of the things I really loved was there was a video of the last swimmer that came across the line at around 5 p.m. and everybody was there cheering that swimmer through the finish.
Well, that's it, where everyone congregates, they can see the last person come in, and You know, it's one of those moments where it just gives you
I've just got goosebumps now just telling the story.
goosebumps,
So
you know.
it is pretty special.
We've got a few pictures here. I'll just bring it up on the screen. This was like the finishes here. We've got the top three in all the different categories. You've got the duos, the team of 3, team of 4, team of 6, team of 10, which was I think a one-off special.
Mm-hmm.
They have a derby on the water where 2 of the big football teams here in Perth have like their alumni
Mm-hmm.
racing against each other. And you know, another really special thing, well, I suppose for myself and 2 other people, Elliot Nathan and Rachel Mangan, was that this was the final swim of our Australian Triple Crown. So that was a really special experience. You get to cross the line and ring that bell doing the 25 kilometre ultra marathon swim, which is really cool to do and a nice way to cap off those journeys. And it's just it's quite a surreal experience to be able to do that. And
I'll have to do one in the next couple of years, I think, just to do it.
Yeah,
I know it's going to be a stretch. 25 kilometres is not easy, but I got to do it.
Moving on, we also caught up with this incredible swimmer here while she was over at Grainne Moss. So Grainne, absolute legend of the marathon swimming community, originally from Ireland, lives in New Zealand, and she was doing her 25k Port to Pub, and then backing that up about 5 days later with the 34 kilometre Derwent River swim over in Tasmania.
Well, and interestingly, I'm not sure if you're aware, on her, I think it's Instagram or Facebook page, this is actually, well, Port to Pub was the first of 6 swims for her. So she's doing Port to Pub, Derwent River. There was another one in New Zealand that she was going to do, possibly 2 in New Zealand, and I know that there was 2 in Asia that she was doing as well. So she's doing a bit of a round.
She's got the Ocean 7 that she's gunning to.
That's right.
Complete.
So Japan's the one there.
Suguru is the last swim of her Ocean 7 campaign, so she had a crack at it last year. Did really, really well. Got about, I think, just a couple of kilometres off the coast before nightfall kind of came and they had to pull her out of the water. So I know she's back going for that one again, but we've got some photos here. I'll just bring up on the screen. There she is there. So, oh no, I haven't clicked share yet. Hold on. So this is Philippa Gunn, Grainne's mother, who has been on her boat for, I think, so many of her swims, and she got the job done with 7 hours and 46 minutes down the Derwent River, which is truly amazing. And speaking of the Derwent River, we also had Amy Gubser over from the US doing it, and I don't know if you can see that there, but that looks like the Southern Lights there next to Val Kalmikov, which would have been absolutely spectacular.
That's stunning.
Well, look at that, those colours, and that is just absolutely magical.
That's pretty special. That
looks like the Tasman Bridge there, coming under the finish line, swimming at night. So, you know, that is just really spectacular stuff.
That'd be pretty cool, doing that event at night, looking up, seeing the colours and the lights.
It's just stuff that money can't buy.
Well, and you know what? That's a big reason why we do these things.
Yeah.
You know, it's the experience.
Just those memories that you'll never forget.
Yeah, and sorry, just while I touch on it as well, with Grainne, we'll put a link in the notes below, but Grainne had a nice little, I guess, recap of the Port to Pub swim. So she called it, Gold Caps and the Stinger Highway. So it's, I suppose that 5 kilometre loop is renowned for a few stingers, but she's got a great rundown of the event and really what it meant for her, and she really sorry, I'll get my words out in a moment. She really captures the essence of the event, which is it's all about the people and people coming together. You know, obviously she's come across here not knowing anybody. Her paddler that she had lined up wasn't able to do it with her, so she had to, you know, contact somebody else and get them involved. And then obviously she's meeting her support crew and the skipper. And then just meeting everybody on the beach in the morning when it's dark, and I think she really enjoyed the experience. Yeah,
which is phenomenal, and I've seen Grainne put up these blogs, these post-swim blogs for most of her challenges, and like they're always really, really insightful. And you know, I think when it comes to the open water swimming community, if you want to go and do a swim, it definitely pays to go and read about someone else's experience, see what worked for them, see all these little minute details that you can kind of pick up from, like where did they go and stay, and where did they go and train, and who were they speaking to when they were, actually there.
And what you've got to look forward to as well. What's their experience been? I mean, I think it's great to hear stories like this because so many times we hear the negative experience of something. It's usually what tends to propagate on social media. So to read somebody's, story of elation and of the experience
it's
that they
a more
have.
fuller journey, isn't it? It shows you all aspects of
Yes.
the challenge, not just the stuff that
Not the bad
grabs
stuff.
not just grabs your attention, So
Yeah.
that's really good as well.
Yeah.
Moving on, we also reported last week, I suppose in the last 2 weeks, we've reported people swimming around St. Helena Island, which I'm sure you're probably sick of us like zooming in on a map and showing you where it is.
In the middle of nowhere.
Basically, it's the middle of the Atlantic, middle of nowhere.
Well, as facts would have it, it seems to be the hotspot of open water swimming.
It seems to be the challenge to the one to do.
I don't know what the appeal. Well, I mean, I kind of do know what the appeal is.
Looking at these pictures, that I don't know if that's appealing.
There's obviously an appeal to people wanting to do this because 3 people have done it in 3 consecutive weeks.
Ryan Strandwood from South Africa. So we touched on the fact that Angus McPherson joined last week, and we knew that there was one more person going to be doing it, and it turned out to be Ryan Strandwood. So Ryan swam around St. Helena's in 16 hours and 50 minutes. The third person to do the circumnavigation. I believe the fastest circumnavigation
So far,
in that time as well, which absolutely amazing achievement in this place that seems to be the new hotspot of open water swimming.
Hey, look, I mean, we all have these reasons why we go and do these things, and I certainly don't want to take anything away from these people because there has been an appeal there and they've wanted to go and do it, and they've done it.
I would love to do, I think it would be class.
Yeah.
Going out to one of the most remote parts of the world and doing a swim there,
Yep.
And I've seen pictures, I haven't got them here, but I've seen pictures of the entire, it looks like, hundreds of people coming down to the harbour to watch.
That would be cool.
Watch you coming into the finish. I saw it with Dina, I saw it with Angus, I'm sure it was the same with Ryan. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Totally agree.
Talking about remote parts of the world, we will talk about let's do you want to just...
I was going to say, where are you going?
When we were doing
yes.
when we were doing a bit of our research, we came across a few photos from Angus McPherson's swim, and
I mean, that's just look, and we all kind of grimace when we see pictures like that, but it's kind of what happens on some of these longer swims. And I know even Port to Pub, there was a few people that had a few marks, war wounds as we call them, and it's just the salt water and the suits and just being in the water for that amount of time.
Yeah,
it's almost unavoidable, I think.
All right, moving on, shall we? Moving on. So, talking about one remote place, we're moving to another remote part of the world, which is New Zealand. And what I just saw coming up on my Facebook feed was the New Zealand Ocean Swim Series, which, from what I can gather, is a good sort of 10 events or so, all dotted around the New Zealand islands. And they've just had something called the Lake Karapiro Swim Fest. So this is an event where it's covering 2 days. You've got distances down at 500 metres all the way through to the 25 ultramarathon swim, and it just looks superb.
Oh, look, it's an impressive, that event alone, but the series that they've got, I mean, I thought we were quite fortunate here in Australia with the open water series that we have, but this, for me, would rival that. It's really, really cool to see so many events across that nation. Yeah,
and just what we've got up on the screen here, just people coming across the finish line, and, you can just see how pleased they are, and, got there people doing the 25 kilometre ultra marathon. I think I saw a gentleman who was in his 60s that had done it. This one here, longest swim ever completed, 2.5 Ks Everyone has different goals. She's ringing the bell there, which is awesome.
That's pretty cool.
You know, I like the vibes of this. You know, there's something for everyone. You know.
Yeah, and look, and you know, you can see on the footage that some of the people are wearing wetsuits and so forth. They're swimming in slightly cooler conditions than probably what we were, than what we would. But it's just an inclusive atmosphere, and everybody's having a go. And it's not about, well, I'm sure that there are some people who are in it for fastest times and positions, but for the most part, it's just about getting everybody involved, irrespective of, you know, whether you're abiding by certain rules or whatever. Who cares? You're in there to have some fun.
In there, having a good time, targeting your own personal goals, and just getting around the open water swimming community, which I think, you know, they're ingredients for a great time.
And immersing yourself in nature. I mean, really, what better place could you want to be?
In New Zealand.
Yeah, well,
need to get you over there. And speaking of, I thought I had this up on the screen, but I'm gonna bring it up. Just bear with me. But talking about New Zealand, let's just bring this up here. We've got our favourite Aucklander doing this incredible swim from Auckland all the way down to Wellington. And he's on the home straight.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know we talk about this quite regularly, but to be honest, this is an epic adventure, which I don't think will ever be repeated again. But what's he got? He's got about 100, just over 100 kilometres to go.
Just over 100 kilometres to go to get to Wellington. This was, how many kilometres in total? Was it 1,500?
Well, he's done 1,250, so what's that? My maths is pretty terrible. So it's about 1,400 odd kilometres.
And all in service of putting an end to bottom trawling in New Zealand. So there we go, 39,000 people have signed the petition to call on the New Zealand government to put an end to bottom trawling on all seamounts in the region. So, you know, phenomenal cause. I don't know if anyone has seen the Ocean documentary by David Attenborough, but that just gives you a bit of an idea of the destructive nature of these bottom trawling boats, practices, and that these sorts of areas, particularly around the shore environments where it happens, like it can make a huge difference to get that a bit more under control and, you know, protect those areas so that the sea life, the marine life, all of it can be allowed to breathe and recover. Yeah, and look, and beyond this swim, beyond this challenge of Jono's, I really, really hope he gets a lot more attention on air and through the mainstream media and whatever, I guess, attention he can get. I'm certainly in support of. I think he's doing it for a great cause. Yeah, so we'll add that one to the show notes. Please do, if you get a few minutes, go check that one out. Consider signing the petition, because it all adds up. It all makes a difference. You know, I know in today's crazy world, it sometimes feels like we can't really do anything, but we have a voice and we have a say in what happens in our world, and we can make a difference if we all pull together in a common direction. Yeah. And just moving on, one final thing is there is a movie, I think it's being produced, I think it's due to be released very, very soon, called Don't Be Prey. And my understanding is it's about, and I don't know the gentleman's name, but it's about his Ocean 7 journey. This is Mark Sowerby. So Mark Sowerby, an Australian who I believe lives in London now, and he embarked on his English channel back in 2015, I think, going through a bit of a tough time personally in life, through business and the likes, and found a lot of solace in the water and in these kind of ocean swims. And there's the release date, 20th of March in the UK, I think a week later in Ireland, 7th of May in Australia. And this is a documentary that follows his journey.
There's a fear of failure. There's the fear of the unknown. There's the fear of pain. There's so many things to be scared of.
I think that's going to be a really interesting video.
As soon as your pace drops, you're going to generate less heat. And then you get in a descending spiral of increased impaired physical capability, where you go slower, get colder, go slower, get colder, go slower, get colder.
there's always going to be a moment that you train for and you mentally prepare.
We should do it.
We're getting a little bit mesmerised by this. Like I'm sitting here going, oh, let's just watch this.
But it looks like an absolute cracker. That was the voice of Tim Denyer as well. And, I think it's definitely amazing how they're shining a light on not just his journey, the healing properties of the ocean and taking on personal challenges, but shining a light on the open water swimming community. And
and I was going to say, there's so many stories, when you start delving into some of this stuff. I mean, obviously, this gentleman's got his story. I mean, even Tim Denyer, who's one of the people featured on the film, he has his own personal story. We've obviously had experiences. Everybody that's done these sorts of events and swims has a story behind why they did it. So it's pretty cool for this sort of stuff to be featured, I feel.
100%. And so, we'll put a link to that website in the show notes, and please do, if you get a chance, check it out. And when it comes out where you are, consider giving that one a watch. I think we'll certainly be going to try see it when it comes out here in Australia.
And when you do, tell us what you think.
Yeah.
See if there's anything that resonates.
Right. All right. Shall we dive into this week's main set?
Speaking of main sets, I'm feeling a bit sore from this morning's main set. I did a training session this morning and I'm feeling it now. My shoulders are a bit sore. Anyway.
Whoa. On that note then, that's quite a nice lead into what we're going to be talking about.
True. So we're going to touch on recovery today and effectively, what we can do from, certainly in this section on the physical side predominantly, what we can do after a big event. Because a lot of the times we're probably not very good at recovering. We think about everything leading up to the event, we think about the event itself, and then typically we just stop. And that's probably one of the worst things you could do in terms of looking after your body and your health.
Well, speaking from experience, I tend to write my race plans, including everything in the lead up and on the day. So I have my carb load in the week leading up, all of my plans in terms of training, how I'm going to be rested and ready as possible for the swim. I've got my race strategy on the day. And then I forget to put everything else, what happens next, Like you get to the island. I remember the first time I did Rottnest, I had nothing planned for what happens when I get there. And so we get there with our kayak, with the team, and we're just like, oh, we actually haven't had the discussion about what happens now.
Yeah.
And I think it happens.
Yeah, look, it does. And I'll even just reflect on my own experience. Well, the first time I did my Rottnest Channel swim, I actually was utilising that as a training event for my port to pub swim, which was 3 weeks later. So I really did have to think about what my recovery is going to look like, because that was effectively a training swim. My main one was 3 weeks later. So I had to factor all that in.
So I suppose, one of the reasons we wanted to talk about it, because if you have something coming up shortly afterwards, like you want to be recovered and rested as possible, get back on the horse, in the best possible manner. I've got a swim coming up next month. We had Grainne Moss, who had
multiple swims
back to back, so it's a really important thing there. But also I think just in terms of general well-being, I know my partner Eliza, she did her first solo at Port to Pub at the weekend. She'd come off the back of it feeling really
average,
exhausted and run down, and she's not sure why. And I think, although a topic like recovery might not be as, I suppose, sexy as resilience or handling adversity or all these kind of things, it is worth talking about. So
and if we think about, let's just talk about the lead up and on the event for a moment. Think about all the things that we do leading into an event. So you were just talking about your carb loading. Now that involves things like having pastas, sugars, all these sorts of things to build up those glycogen stores in your body. So in all honesty, it's probably not the healthiest way to live, and I certainly wouldn't advocate that for a long period of time, but we do it because it serves a purpose in the moment. But think about what's occurring during the event as well. You're taking on a lot more sugars, you're taking on all those energy stores during the event, so your gut's a little bit upset, your muscles are obviously going to be fatigued, and you're going to have the onset of muscle soreness after, so there's micro tears in your muscles. all these sorts of things going on. There's dehydration as well. All these things affect us from a physiological standpoint. So, the recovery aspect is very, very important, and we neglect it. So
where should we start then with this topic here? Because we could go down a lot of different routes. We could talk about the mental side, we could talk about the physical, spiritual, emotional, all that kind of stuff. Where do you want to begin?
I think let's start off with, so hydration is probably going to be one of your biggest issues. So we can start there. Hydration. Let's talk about the muscle soreness, because you're definitely going to feel that. And let's just touch on the gut as well. I mean, the gut's probably a complex one. But let's start with hydration, right? You know that when you're doing a big event like this, even though you might be taking on hydration during an event, I guarantee you at the end you will be dehydrated. Yeah. So not only does that mean, a reduction or a reduction of moisture or water in your body. I mean, we're made up of 70 to 8, I don't know if the exact figures, but 70 to 80%. It's a lot. We're predominantly made up of water.
Unless it's tea.
So when you think about your muscles, but more importantly your fascia, which is what's holding everything together, all your muscles and all those structures, the fascia is predominantly liquid based. So you're dehydrating that as well as your body. So, and even think about things like how the blood circulates in the body as well. So if you're reducing how much liquid is in your body, that blood is going to thicken like oil, and it's going to be harder and harder for it to circulate your body. Your heart's going to be working harder, all these sorts of things. And even when you talk about how do you repair your body, if your blood is a lot thicker, if it's slower and everything's working harder, the immune system works through blood flow as well to get all those nutrients to those areas that require it. So you're just making everything more and more difficult from a dehydration perspective. So hydration, absolutely critical.
So what does that look like then, Jay, in terms of, right, you've hit the island, you've crossed the line, you've picked up your finisher's medal, then what?
So for me, I liken it a lot to training. So what I guess you and I would probably typically do, and probably a lot of you guys out there as well, when you finish training, you're generally having some proteins, so whether it be a smoothie or whatever it might be, but then you're also having electrolytes. So the electrolytes and the minerals and the salts and all those sorts of things are going to help with re-energizing your body and helping getting that, that liquid back into your body.
Because you've sweated it.
Yep, you've sweated out.
Sweated it out during the exercise.
Yeah, you've either sweat or urination or whatever it might be, it's exiting your body. So you need to get that back in. And why the electrolytes are so important is because if you think, I'm going to be I'll be medical and I'll be very professional. So if you think about from your mouth to your bottom is effectively a cylinder. So having just water or having anything and ingesting that is physically outside of your body. You need to get it into your body. And the salts and the minerals and the electrolytes are what help your body absorb that liquid back into your body. Without them, so drinking water alone is probably the worst thing you could do, because if you think about it, if you're having water, if it's not getting into your body, you're probably actually stripping your body of more minerals.
You're just flushing it out instead of allowing it to retain.
Yep, so you need to have something in that water to help bring everything back into your body.
So when I finish a swim, quite a lot of the time I have a blood sugar level imbalance. I've been taking on all of these sugars, these things like these gels, these carb drinks, chews, whatever that looks like, and they're often quite sugary to get that carb amount into the body so I can perform when I'm out there. When I get to the finish line, I often feel out of whack. Like what can we do about that? Because I'm sure people listening, a lot of them might be experiencing that as well.
I think, if we talk about the sugars and all those sorts of things that we've ingested, I think we've got to let the body naturally get rid of those and process those as well, and getting back to as healthy a diet as possible. So not only the liquids, but also just having some good quality foods to try and normalize what's going on. And also just think about all that stuff that you've been putting in your gut for a week is going to be upsetting the microbiome and all the, the process that occurs in your stomach as well. So again, going back to some natural things, even having, you know, maybe not on the day or straight after, but in the days afterwards, yogurts, kefirs, all those, all
things
those
that are good for the gut.
all that produce that is good for normalising the gut again. I would certainly recommend that, and I do that myself as much as I can.
I suppose I tend to find those sugary drinks, I'd stay off them for a few days afterwards. I just don't want to drink anything like a flat Coke, for example, which is in my feed plan.
Yeah.
I don't want to touch that stuff. And so when it comes to replacing the lost electrolytes, trying to find something that doesn't have too much sugar in it, I find tends to help me.
Yeah, and look, just a bit of a note too, if you are looking for electrolytes, just pay a bit of attention to what's in your electrolyte. Typically most of the stuff that you buy at the shopping centres and even the chemists, sadly, is really low in the salts and the sodiums and the minerals that you need, and is actually quite high in sugar. So they're probably not the best. So just do a little bit of research in terms of what is good, and you want something with higher sodium levels and higher mineral content than probably what you can typically buy over the counter.
Okay, so we've talked a bit about hydration, touched on it very briefly, the types of foods and things that we want to be getting in. You mentioned protein as well. What else? Like, if you're thinking of your body and your muscles and the pain.
Oh, if you've just done a big swim, like Andy's just done 25 this weekend, you know, and a lot of people have done that event and other events, that's a massive day of exercise, and you are going to have some small muscle tears. That's what muscle soreness is, and I think most people have heard of what is typically called DOMS, so delayed onset of muscle soreness, which is those micro tears and that pain and stiffness that you experience. Stopping and doing nothing probably does yourself more of a disservice than trying to keep moving. Now, when I say keep moving, that's not getting back into full training, but that's doing some light exercise, maybe some stretches, just some general light movement. And of course, we never want to do anything that's going to induce more pain. That indicates a problem.
Yeah.
So it's got to be comfortable. Discomfort is okay, but pain is not. So just make sure that you're not...
It's the old yummy pain versus ouchy pain.
I haven't heard that one.
Yummy pain versus ouchy pain, where, you know, pain can be good. So, like, you kind of know when it's like, all right, this is helping me, and if I'm stretching, for example, and I'm going up here and I can't lift my arms past here, that's probably fine, and it's in that yummy pain where it's going to be helping. But if I pushed it there and it's really restrictive, that's that ouchy pain where it's like, okay, you probably shouldn't be pushing that too much, but I can breathe into this if I'm doing my stretches. This is probably not a great example here, but I can breathe at the limit of my stretch and just see if that helps, see if the body or gravity naturally lengthens it out.
And look, the core purpose for doing these movements is to promote blood flow, because as I said just before, to get all those, I guess, reparative things occurring in your body, you need that blood flow to carry those, to carry those things to the areas that is needed in your body, be it the muscles and other extremities.
So it's not in isolation.
No, not at all. So
hydration.
Yep.
The protein and recovery of muscle, like the muscle repair, doing these exercises, like, you don't do them in isolation. They're all working hand in hand to promote good physical recovery.
Absolutely. And make sure, or certainly something I would advocate for, is have a great team around you. I know we certainly do. I would advocate that for any person. So be that a massage therapist, be that a physiotherapist, chiropractor, or whatever that might be for you, even your coaches, be it your swimming coach or your gym coach, have this team around you so that if you are experiencing some issues or you're not sure what to do, you have people to reach out to that can help guide you in that recovery process, because it is so important. And especially if you are experiencing pain and it's not the yummy pain as Andrew mentioned. So if it's the ouchy pain, you've got somebody who can, investigate that a little bit further and see what's going on, because, those things left unattended can actually manifest into greater things, especially if you start reintroducing load and power and so forth again. So
I'd just like to add that was a Ryan Evernden special there, the yummy pain versus ouchy pain. But if we were to put this into like simple terms for someone that's literally just finished a 25-kilometer port to pub, for example, what might those practices look like in the following 12 hours, the following 24 hours, the following 48 hours, the week following? Like, what sort of things, we've talked about the hydration, what sort of physical things can people be doing to promote good recovery, and what sort of time frames are we looking at here?
Yeah, and I'll talk from my own personal perspective. So as I mentioned before, doing Rottnest and then doing Port to Pub 3 weeks apart, I just finished doing a 20-kilometre swimming across to Rottnest. Within the first hour, I had already gotten back in the water and just done a very, very light swim. So maybe 200-300 metres, just nothing special, just got back in the water just to move the body. In that process, I'd also had some proteins and electrolytes as well. So just to try and re-energise the body and rehydrate the body. The following day, I made sure to keep moving again. Now, as a swimmer, it's naturally easier for me to hop back in the water, so I did that and just did maybe a 1 kilometre swim. Again, nothing full on, just get the blood moving again, get the body moving again. If you're not a swimmer, just doing some light stretches and exercises, anything, even just walking, just anything to get the blood moving around. And then in the days afterwards, it's about gradual reintroduction of getting back into your routine and your normal structure of what you do, and start moving again and adding a little bit more each time. So the reason why we talk about this, and there's been some studies done, if you do nothing versus you do an active recovery, if you do nothing, it can take you 2 to 3 weeks to get back to where you were, versus if you start to do an active recovery, you can very quickly, within days, maybe up to a week, get back to where you were beforehand. So it really does shorten that recovery time frame by keeping moving, as long as it's safe and pain free.
Yeah. So perfect.
Yeah, that's kind of how I would look at it. And again, it's about winding down. Think about, if I was watching a really great movie, let's say Top Gun. Top Gun's one of my favourite movies, right?
Very good with this, yeah.
So if we've watched that movie and we're in that last scene in Top Gun where they're having that aerial dogfight and all the rest of it, if that movie just stopped there, how would you feel?
Yeah.
You'd be like, well, hang on.
Right in the middle of the action.
Exactly. Well, where's the rest? And this will probably lead a little bit more into the mental side of things, but even from a physical standpoint, if you just stop, you're kind of left feeling wanting. You need that wind. You need that wind down. You need that completion of the story, right? So I think of it a little bit like that as well.
I like the analogy, actually. I would never have imagined to draw a comparison between watching Top Gun and swimming an ultramarathon swim / getting good recovery. So
on a funny note, I have watched the movie. Now, the name escapes me now. It was like an old western, but the movie actually finished on a moment like that, and I was like, well, hang on, what happened? Is that it? Like, and the credits started rolling, and I was like, no, where's the rest of the film?
Not like Blazing Saddles,
no.
One of the spoof spaghetti westerns.
No, it might come to me. Anyway.
Physically wise, I think we've covered a lot of ground there.
And look, and there's probably a lot more we could cover, but I'm trying to keep it at a bit of a surface level, give you some ideas of what can happen, why we do what we do, and some thoughts about who to have around you and your team, and the processes involved in making sure that you're recovered as best as possible.
So if you allow me to summarise, we talked about hydration, eating well, sleeping well was probably something that we should add in there, because that allows you to really restore your body, provide that space to recover the muscles, all of these things, everything to work hand in hand. Active recovery, so keeping moving, going and seeing health professionals, people that can help you recover, and just not being stagnant, I think, has been a big one.
Yep.
A big takeaway out of this, because that active recovery really promotes recovery in a quicker and better manner than just being sitting down at your desk. And
yeah, and look, sadly, a lot of people think of resting as doing nothing. Where, okay, no, it's not the right method to do things, because when you start to rest, especially after doing a big event, your body shuts down, and that's when you start to seize up, and that's what you're trying to avoid. So,
should we move into the mental side of this then?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Okay, so this week we've done a little bit of a different thing, where we've made the main set about the physical side of recovery, and we've made the weekly wisdom kind of delving into the emotional and mental side of this aspect of the sport.
And it kind of fits with I guess the segment, right? Weekly wisdom. This is kind of a different element that people don't think of a lot of the times.
When you think of ultramarathon swimming, I read all these statistics that it's 80% mental, 20% physical. And so we've just talked about how to recover from the physical part, but how do we recover from the mental exertion of swimming something like 25Ks, of preparing for months and months and months for an event, having uncertainty with weather, being in a state of not quite fight or flight, but really heightened state of duress.
Let me stop you right there. So in terms of talking about fight or flight, if you think about exercise, so what are you doing when you exercise? You are intentionally putting yourself into a state of fight or flight, right? When you're in a state of fight or flight, the things that are active are your heart, your lungs, your muscles, your focus, your brain. The things that are neglected by design is things like digestion, is your immune system, is all these other functions of your body that are not important. So hence,
they are, but they not at that point.
Not in that moment in time, right? Because you are putting yourself into a state of stress. So it is really important to, hence why we're talking about the recovery, physical and mental, to mentally recover, because you need to put your body back into that rest and digest mode, which is how all the other functions are going to start to help repair your body, not only your mind, but physically as well. So
with this side, there's so many areas that we could probably delve into. We could talk about the nervous system. We could talk about what happens after an event with, post event blues. You can talk about how do we recover and fill our cup, so to speak. Where should we start?
Look, let's start with how you feel after an event, right? Because typically what happens is there's been this huge build-up, and sometimes it's months, sometimes it's even a year or more of build-up towards the event, and especially the days leading into the event, there's a lot going on. And then on the event, you're executing. Typically when you finished an event, what now?
What happens?
Yeah. And I come back to that movie analogy I made a moment ago. It's like, you're in that final moment and then nothing. So a lot of people tend to almost feel like, of course, right after the event, there's the elation of having completed the event, etc., etc. It's more so the days afterwards where we start to feel a bit, I'll almost use the word depressed, or we're flat. Yeah. Have we got something else to look forward to? Do we want to get up in the morning? And
it's like that. What happens now?
Yeah.
I've been working so hard towards this thing. The blinkers have been on. Right, I've got here. I've done it.
Now what?
Oh, right.
Yeah. So
back to reality. It's like, what happens now? Yeah.
And most people end up, the reality is most people have to go back to work. They've got things that they've got to do. They have to start to re-engage with family and friends again, which is all really, really good steps in the process as well. But don't neglect yourself. Like, we immediately start thinking of other people, which is great, but we tend to neglect ourselves a little bit too. We don't have that self-care.
Well, and I suppose one of the reasons we want to talk about this is it's not often addressed. It's not often addressed. Like, people focus so much on the event and the build-up and the tools for dealing with adversity in the moment, but we fail to discuss the feelings afterwards, especially when they can be like after the elation, after the come down, it can be quite a tough time.
Well, and I might turn the tables a little bit too and ask you a question if you're happy sharing. You know, we had the Port to Pub event on the weekend and things probably didn't go quite to plan for yourself. How do you deal with those moments where you probably haven't quite realised the goals that you've set yourself or met the expectations on yourself? I mean, what happened afterwards and the days afterwards for yourself?
Well, I mean, if I was to be fully open and honest, like I haven't found it the easiest. When you haven't done something to what you feel is your full abilities, it can be disappointing and it can be difficult to process. But I don't think shying away from it is the right answer or sweeping it under the rug. Like, I think you have to just naturally go through those feelings, be aware of them, acknowledge them, take the time to process them, and be kind to yourself during that journey, which I think is something I kind of struggle with. I set myself a lot of high standards. I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, and want to be performing up here all the time. And the reality of it is that's not possible. Like you can't be on your A game all the time. And if I look back at that swim, could I have done better? Maybe if I'd prepared better, maybe if I'd done a whole bunch of different things, but in the moment I gave it what I could, and I can be very proud with the effort I gave. And I think part of that processing journey is looking back and reflecting and seeing what you did learn out of it, what you did well, what you could have done better, and how can we take that moving forwards. But also celebrating the little wins along the way. Like that was an amazing day. We had beautiful conditions, a great time with the team. I knuckled down and didn't give in. I completed a triple crown of the Australian Triple Crown. Still came away with like a third place, like podium position, and a solid crossing. So yeah, going through those processes and just being gentle to yourself, because we're all just doing our best out there, and I think that's something to be mindful of. Don't shy away from the emotions. I think it's Tuesdays with Maury, the gentleman Maury talks about feel the feelings. Feel the feelings. Like, don't, if you're feeling sad, like, you have to learn to understand that that's the feeling that you're having. So that you can identify it in future and know that it's okay to be feeling like that. We're not robots, we have feelings. And I think it helps to talk about it. We've had our conversations, so having that support team around you to help you go through that journey certainly makes a difference. And knowing that there's a good chance that that might happen. Port to Pub, it was every possibility that I wasn't going to have a good swim. So, I was aware that could happen, and I was aware that this could be a feeling I'd have afterwards. If I look back to the Ocean 7, back in 2023, I was aware that come the end of it, there was probably going to be a huge drop and come down after spending an entire year traveling around the world and taking on these ultramarathon swims. So, again, being ready for that, accepting that this is likely to happen, and having those steps and a little bit of a plan in place of, all right, I know I'll be flat. This is what is in my toolbox to help me kind of during these times. For me, things like walks or going and hanging around with my sister or my partner, reading books, watching movies, whatever that looks like. It's unique to every one of us. Knowing that these are the levers I can pull when I'm not feeling my best or feeling a bit flat, and giving myself time to reflect and process my feelings and emotions.
Cool.
We can't do any more than that.
No, and look, and I really like the way Andrew.
Yeah. For context, only my sister and my mum call me Andrew. Unless I'm getting into trouble with people. It's like
but I really like the way that Andy answered that message, or that, you know, that story, because one, I think a number of years ago you might not have answered it quite that way, so that shows a lot of growth in yourself. Also, it's helped, I guess, you know, the conversations that we've had over the years as well, and I guess helping mentor Andy through some of these phases. But you've said this a couple of times in that response. So the first thing you mentioned was awareness, right? You've got to have the awareness that these things might occur. That's the first step. Without that awareness, you can't do anything about it because you're oblivious, right? Awareness is the first thing. You mentioned acceptance a couple of times.
Yeah.
You have to accept that this is what's going to happen, and that this is potentially something that could be an outcome, or this is the way you might feel. So awareness, acceptance. After that, and without acceptance, acceptance is probably the most important part next to awareness, because until you fully accept that something's going to occur, you cannot move forward. And by nature of the fact that you haven't accepted something means you're in denial. Once you've accepted something, you then have accountability. Accountability for your actions. What am I going to do to help myself move past this? You know, spending time with family, friends, whatever the, you know, be it the recovery, the nutrition, whatever it might be, the mental tools. And then that last one is action. So what are you going to do? So awareness, acceptance, accountability, action. And you kind of mentioned all those things, maybe not quite in the same fashion, but that's a bit of a
good framework,
a philosophy or framework that I utilize with clients as well. So, you know, where was I going to go with this? I was on a roll then.
I think it's grand, you know, Jay, and yeah, we don't really, sometimes we're just figuring it out as we go and move through these feelings. And so,
yep.
Yeah,
No, in. Feelings was the word I was looking for. So a lot of the times it's the experiences, the feelings, the emotions that we have that are inside us that we tend to bottle up as well. So I'm going to go back to the word depression is part of the word depress. What do you do when you depress something? You hold it down. What do most people, especially guys, tend to do with our emotions? We hold them in. We don't express them. Expressing your emotions is a natural way of releasing them and letting them out. And if you don't, I mean, there's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and he talks all about how suppressing your emotions manifests into disease and, you know, all sorts of things, cancers and autoimmune issues, all sorts of stuff.
You use the example of a Coke bottle.
Yes.
Where you fizz it up and you're fizzing it up and you're fizzing it up and you can feel it all literally bottled up.
It's got to come out at some point, and if you don't release that lid at some point it's going to burst, or the lid's going to pop up, or something bad's going to happen.
Well, and you feel it and it's all full of pressure.
Your body is exactly the same. If you think about stress, if you think about when you're stressed or had a bad day, what's the first thing that happens? Your shoulders are usually, you're tense. You don't even realise that you are. And your breath, you're short of breath as well, because you're taking short, shallow breaths. So one of the first things, as soon as you talk to people and get them to start expressing and releasing their emotions, is you see a change in their physiology. And firstly, usually with their breath, and secondly, their shoulders drop. You can literally see, and even if you're watching right now, just relax your shoulders. Just see if they're actually sitting a bit higher and relax.
That's what this was at the start.
But that comes back to awareness, right? Most of us aren't even aware, and we walk around all day feeling tense and whatnot. So, yeah.
To wrap this section up then, what are some of the key takeaways then from mental, nervous system, emotional perspective when it comes to recovery then? So you had your 5 points, your framework.
For 4 points, yep.
Was it 4?
Yep.
Shows you how rusty I am.
You've added one in. I want to know what you've
added. My accounting, how are you feeling? We talked, I mean, I've heard a lot of people that say, you just need another goal. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, look, I don't think that's a bad thing per se. I mean, it is a goal or a passion. For me, they're two things. So if you don't have a goal or you don't have a passion, you're kind of feeling like you've got nothing to look forward to, right? So there's nothing wrong with having a goal. It doesn't have to be another big one. It could just be getting back into the water or getting back into a routine, whatever it might be. Or maybe it's spending time with family. It doesn't really matter. But having a goal does help because it pushes you in the right direction.
And it gets you back into routine.
Yes. Routine sounds boring as... I won't continue that, but it sounds boring. I was going to say something else. It sounds boring, but it is super, super beneficial in terms of helping get back into some form of structure.
Routine and community.
Community is another great one. The people around you. So getting back to your family, getting back to your club, getting back to the groups, and this kind of falls into that passion bucket that I mentioned a moment ago. I mean, a lot of us, I have a passion for swimming in general. So I don't need to go and physically do a lot of training, but I enjoy talking with and spending time with the people in those communities, in those swimming groups. So most of the time it's about having a coffee, and hence why we decided to start After Swim, right? Yeah. So it's about those conversations, and talk therapy in a way is good too. So when you're in those communities, you are expressing some of those feelings and emotions as well. So you're getting some of that out. So again, it all comes back to that holistic view of, it's not just one thing that you can do, it's all the little things that you can do that help you recover.
Well, and I think, to tie the physical in with the mental, the physical stuff helps you feel better mentally as well.
Vice versa too, yeah.
They're all related.
Yeah, well, they talk about a mind-body connection. There's no such thing. It is one. Mind-body are connected. Yeah. There aren't two separate things.
So don't treat them separately. Yeah.
No, they're both one and the same. And so, like I said before, being aware and having acceptance of what's going on, but even just doing some somatic exercises as well, letting your body kind of express those. So there's the feelings and emotions that you can express, but sometimes they're stored in your body. So doing some somatic type exercises can be helpful as well.
So things like sound healing, breath work.
Even breath work's great, but I was even thinking, so somatic means body, so doing things like even something like planks or wall sits, or do a little bit of research in terms of somatic movements. So there's many things that you can do that don't put the body under a lot of stress, but just a little bit of stress to get them to start releasing some of the feelings and emotions that might be pent up and held within your body. But yeah, breathwork is another great one as well. I mean, some people might be familiar with Wim Hof, and there's some other mentors out there that do breathwork, that sort of stuff. Breathwork is super, super valuable. And the reason why is because when you're in a state of fight or flight, the first thing that gets affected is your breath. So the reverse must also be true. If you can control your breath, you can control your mental state as well. That's why.
All right. Well, look, I think we could talk about this topic for...
Well, I could talk about this all day. I mean, look, and this is kind of what I do and what I get involved in, and hence why I've been helping Andy with a lot of his adventures. But there is so much we could talk about. We only have a limited amount of time, and just looking at the clock, we're probably short now.
we are. So, look, we're going to move on, but hopefully there's a few tidbits in there that have helped you. And
reach out if you've got questions and queries as well. Like, happy to try and answer those, or maybe we can cover them in another session. So
yeah,
well, that sounded like a doctor's. Anyway,
moving on now. So we've got Q&A with Andy and Jay. We might keep this one a bit short. Yeah. We're running a little bit out of time, but which of these questions do you reckon then, Jay? What should we? Do you want to go for the fears?
Oh, okay. Yep.
Alright, so this one came in from a woman called Deb S, and her question was, any advice for overcoming fears of predator animals in the open water?
Do you have any? Because I know you've come across a couple of things in the water. Like, what do you do? Anything in particular?
I think it comes to awareness and acceptance.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Awareness that there is every chance that I might have an encounter.
Well, and we're in their environment, right?
We're in their environment. I think it is more if it catches you off guard, then in the moment you're going to be really freaked out. But if you are aware that there is a chance that there might be something out there, you know what the risks are, the probabilities, the impact of these things, then you can rationalize it in your head and not go out there with irrational thinking, essentially.
Yeah, and this probably sounds easier than what it is. I know it is very difficult because those fears are irrational and our minds do. I mean, I have a fear of deep water, so I know exactly what you're saying. even if nothing's there, my mind's in overdrive sometimes because I'm just, I don't know, picturing all these weird and wonderful things in the water.
Well, then what can you do to limit them? So, for example, if it is sharks, can we put a shark shield out on the boat, or stay in the shark net, or stay close to the shore, or have someone's eyes on me at all time? Like, what are these levers that we can pull, or these what's the word I'm looking for? Like responses to the risk.
Well, there's the physical,
to mitigate them.
Yeah, there's the physical things that we can do, as you've just mentioned, and I think coming back to even just the awareness of, for me, I know I'm going to have these thoughts, so I try and practice mitigating those thoughts when they happen, because I know they're going to happen. So I just,
so it's almost like meditation.
I talk to myself a little bit, going, no, that's I know this happens. I'm all over the place. It's okay. It's normal. It's nothing to be worried about.
Exposure therapy.
Yes.
So like the more you do it, the more confidence you can build, and I suppose the more capability that you have of dealing with those thoughts when they enter your mind, because everyone has them.
Yeah.
Like no one is born more resilient than the other person. It's built up over time, and those repetitions all start to add up and make you more capable of dealing with those fears. And I think some of the tools that you mentioned there, positive self-mental talk, focusing on your breath and other things,
well,
they certainly help in the moment.
And I'm just going to add one as well, is normally when you're in the water and if you do see something, if you think about a predator, right, and worried about seeing a predator in the water, predators aren't going to announce themselves. That's not how they work. So logically thinking through the process, right, predators don't want to show themselves. So if you see something, it's actually kind of a blessing, because what is actually happening is that creature is inquisitive and wants to know what's going on. They're not ready to attack. They're just looking to go, oh, what's this crazy person doing in the water? They're just coming to have a bit of a look. So rationalising that thought process as well, and then it changes what was a fear into now I'm actually looking forward to something because I know it's inquisitive just like I am. So yeah, there's different ways to skin the cat.
It's an interesting one, and look, there's no easy answer there, but hopefully that's some points in the right direction. Just that gradual exposure to these things. You don't need to jump into the deep end and throw yourself into the middle of the Pacific,
like someone
you
does.
Go swimming in St. Helena, Right, we have run out of time, so
let's get to our words of the week, shall we?
So we'll finish off here.
It's always a pretty cool one. Did you want to read this one out?
Yeah, so we're on to the cool down, and that was a great session. We have this finishing tradition of the words of the week. This week's
we've boiled it all down from this year into one saying.
It's Cracker by Confucius. A man is great not because he hasn't failed, but because failure hasn't stopped him.
That's cool.
So a man is not great because he hasn't failed, but because he hasn't let failure stop him. So, when we experience adversity, it's how we respond, which is what matters most.
Yeah, no, I like that one. It's a pretty cool one. And I think that's, it kind of touches on the recovery aspect, but it's just about showing up.
Continue to show up, consistency and discipline.
Yeah, no matter what happens, keep showing up.
Keep going forward.
Tomorrow's another day.
Right, well, we wrap things up there.
Yeah, well, we covered a fair bit in that one, and look, hopefully something in there kind of grabbed you and made you think a little bit. That's kind of our aim, is to provoke a bit of thought and conversation. And please, by all means, reach out if there are any comments or anything, whether it be on this segment or this episode, this episode or previous episodes. Please get in touch, let us know what you thought and if you've got any queries.
All right. Thank you very much for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
All right, take it easy.